It's time. It's time. Yo! Discourse begins.
Let me mute the Twitch.
Yeah.
It's double. Okay. Where do you want to start? My stance?
Yes.
Okay. My basic stance is this. From the perspective of a new player, and I know a lot of people don't agree, a new player will ask for a raid build, okay? You will send them to Snowcrow. The first thing you do, you might go to the raid, okay? You might go to Snowcrows, you go to the raid, all builds, and you don't see numbers, so you don't know what's good. So you click the next best thing, benches. You click on benches, you see Antiquary 65k, okay? You use the Antiquary, you copy the build completely, okay? You practice it for hours, you go to the raid and you're doing 20k, 30k DPS while the build says 65k. You do not, like, I don't think people understand how, and again, I understand why you don't understand, and that's fine. You guys are veterans and stuff, but you can look at the comments on my video, not the negative ones, and how many people are thanking me and agreeing that, yes, this confused the fuck out of them.
I mean, okay, I would argue, though, that if you want to make the claim that Antiquary specifically is a bit of a bait, I'm not gonna lie,
sorry.
You actually have a bit of a point there. Like, Antiquary specifically is a bait, but that's for, like, multiple reasons. Like, and you, weirdly enough, I feel like this is a problem that Thief has actually had a little bit. For example, like, the Axe Thief build was, like, inhumanly difficult to play. Like, almost nobody could play it correctly, so the benchmark was arguably a little bit bait. And you could make a similar argument for Antiquary. However, what my counter to that would be, look at all the other builds. I would argue that, like, all the other ones are, like, very legitimate, right? Like, you've got Inferno Evoker. Yeah, that is actually a sick build that will do really well. Condi Conduit, that, again, will do really well in a lot of situations. Power Ritualist will do really well. Oh, yeah, sure.
One second. Let me just say this one thing.
Yeah.
Practically all of the builds on Snowcrow will do really well. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true.
All of them do really well.
But what I'm getting at here is that I feel like some of this, like perhaps like some of the miscommunication, some of the confusion here, is actually down to Antiquary specifically being weird.
No, it's just the example I use because he has 5 spots in the top 7.
Well,
so
yeah, but because it's so weird though, because it is a weird build. It is a weird build.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I think
in the setup.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
So like when you say like people link to Snowcrows, and then the new player makes the build, and you're saying that they look at the bench but they don't bench. They skip the bench. You're saying that they skip the bench?
No, they will practice it. They will even bench. Let's say you're a new player, you're not gonna bench 100%, but let's say realistically you can bench 60 to 70% with like 2 hours of practice in most cases, in most builds that are not like 4-star difficulty.
And then so they hit whatever they hit, and then they ask, is this expected in the real fights?
No, then okay, so let's put in like easier numbers. Let's say the bench is 100k. This is like the maximum DPS you can do on something, right? You practice, you get to 60, maybe 70k DPS, right? And you're like, you know what? This is fine. This is good enough for me. Okay?
Okay.
Then you go into raid and you're doing half of that. How does that make you feel as a player who doesn't really understand what benches are, which, by the way, apparently that's not that uncommon?
I actually have to ask, so when they see this number in the real fight, do they see everybody else's number and also see that everyone else is like relatively low to the bench? Because, I guess
they don't know other people's they don't know other people's benches. They have an expectation.
Arc, but they also see like how close everyone is. Because I will say that like I go
only if you know how to use Arc. Most people just use it passively to see their DPS. Nobody's going into the details of Arc. I practically never.
They don't see like group DPS. They only have like self stats on.
No, they see the group DPS. They don't know their benches. They don't know what they're supposed to be making.
But regardless of other people's benches, everyone's like pretty close, or I don't know. I pug a lot, and like most people, I pug a lot. I'm on scuffed
20K.
scourge, and I just mash,
Yeah.
and like
Yep.
I hit maybe a little bit higher,
Mhm.
but most people are pretty close. Like especially like on like IBS or
Yeah.
even like the newer raids, everyone's like pretty close, and it's kind of like regardless of anyone's bench, everyone's kind of like contributing equally. And I don't know benches for other classes, but I kind of just see like, oh, everyone, I don't know, we're on a boss and we're all doing like 20k, like maybe the bench is 100k, but we're all doing 20k. I don't feel weird. Do other people feel weird when everyone's doing like 20?
I think
Like,
when you
regardless of
come
their
in
own
an
bench?
expectation, I think when you come with an expectation, and again, this is a lot more specific to a lot of ex-WoW players because we live DPS. Okay, if I think I'm going to be doing 40k because I want to like, you know, flex on the nubs, whatever, right? Like I want to join a pug and I want to, you know, show big dick, right? And I go in with expectation for 40k and I run out with 18, 22k, that doesn't feel good for a player.
Do these
problem is
players
the
see
expectation.
themselves at the top of the DPS chart?
They expect to be at the top.
But they should.
They probably wouldn't be at the top though. No, why would they? They don't know the fight. They don't like. There's so many things that go into it, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, sure.
If they're F-WoW players, then they know that as well. Then they know they need a WSD. There's going to be mechanics they've never seen, and they know they probably won't be top because they don't know the fight. But once they know the fight, they should be top.
Yeah. And then they still won't be top, because the fight depends on what you're playing. Because the mechanics in Guild Wars 2 are more complex than, I know T doesn't agree on this, but the mechanics in Guild Wars 2 are more complex to wrap your head around than they are in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is extremely simplistic. Like, I know there's a lot more mechanics. I get that. I'm saying the mechanics are more simplistic to understand and to DPS while you're doing them. Whereas, like, let's say, you know what, let's take an easy one. Let's say Shiver Peaks, right? It has the invulnerability phase, right? If you didn't time your rotation properly, you are going to lose on a lot of DPS because of the invulnerability state. Because, like, you might not have your cooldowns ready when he comes back to fight. Not cooldowns, but, like, certain abilities. Like, you just wasted them as soon as you went into invulnerability, and you just used, like, a few abilities that, like, would have been, like, a big amount of damage. Also, when you finish that fight, your DPS is substantially lower.
Okay, I will say I did not watch the video. I came in late. I'm sorry, I did not watch your video.
It's all good. It's all good.
He doesn't watch the video.
It's even better.
Say, like,
Does
your video just say, like, okay, WoW players, just go to Wingman. Like, Wingman is the tool.
No. Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know about Wingman until this debate started, because this debate
No shot. I was your first link to Wingman.
That was my first link.
You.
I've been playing for 2.5 years. My first time knowing that Wingman exists.
What?
Because no one talks about it.
It is relatively.
I think Wingman has a discoverability issue.
It is relatively. Also, the site is scuffed, right? It's not like Warcraft logs.
The site is
the only source of information you have is benchmarks, because nobody talks about Wingman. So if you have only benchmarks as your context, and you don't even understand what the benchmarks in Guild Wars 2 represent, because as T showed, benchmarks in WoW is like the bare minimum, apparently, because you are going to beat the benchmarks. In Guild Wars 2, you come to do a benchmark and doing 25-50% of it. I think that's very discouraging.
I don't think so. I actually think it's fairly, because I think this is actually the point, right? Like, your point is that you think people get bamboozled by this a little bit. They get confused.
Yes. I got bamboozled by it when I
am not
like
entirely sure. It is. Wait. Okay. Well, maybe I'm cooked here, but I feel like it's really intuitive to understand that. Oh, the boss has gone invulnerable, so I'm not going to get the same level of DPS, right? Like.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, again, think about from WoW brain. You know the add-ons in WoW, right?
Yes.
You know, stop attacking. You know, don't attack boss. You know that weak aura?
I mean, yeah, depending on the
I don't
fight,
believe you need that. I don't believe you need that at WoW. I don't want to believe that.
I mean, no, but people use that to, if you don't want to push
use it. People turn off their brain. You don't understand. understand.
People do that in order
turn off their brain.
to, as like a reminder to not phase, to get a certain phase timing, basically. Like
Yeah.
on
Do you know how
mechanics.
invulnerability? Do you know how
Oh,
invulnerability looks?
it's like HP.dll.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. How does invulnerability look in Guild Wars 2? Is there any specific sign from the boss that he's invulnerable other than that very tiny icon on like the bar of the like on the HP bar?
Well, I mean,
That you
you
don't
stop
even
doing damage
recognize?
to it. You stop doing damage to it.
Yeah, but you don't. Yes, but let's be real. How many attacks does it take for you to realize that you're not doing damage?
I will say there are some oddities. So like invulnerability isn't as, it's not telegraphed super hard if you're not like watching your numbers pop up. But there's also other weird stuff like Matthias. When Matthias has a shield up, if you're Condi, you do want to keep on hitting him, so you keep up your Condis when he comes out of the bubble. So there are some weird things in there, but like I feel like it's like so, I feel like it's so niche and just like.
Yeah, but you're talking to somebody who has over a decade of WoW brain rot. I'm telling you, this is extremely common.
Well,
You
yeah,
have-
but then
you
people
have the
just
good players, but
learn.
this-
People just learn because, like, yeah, I mean, obviously,
Yes,
like
I agree with you.
in
But people
wa-
can learn the benchmarks too. They can learn everything. Yeah, I'm talking about how does it feel at first? How does it feel like for the first few times you're trying a build and you're doing substantially worse than what is advertised? When somebody's advertising this is doing 40k DPS, you copy that build and you don't go to the fights that this specific build is meant for, and you're performing like utter shit. How does it make you feel as a player? Brand new player, not brand new, but like a few months in, you just finished the story, you want to go into endgame, you're trying to learn your rotation, you're copying builds, you're wasting your resources that you barely have, and then you think you got a good build to start off, and then you're performing like shit? I'm sorry, that feels like fucking crap.
I mean, isn't that just?
I'm sorry for the language, by the way. I don't know the language.
No, it's fine. We can say bad words here. But I mean, like, isn't that just like learning a new game? Like, if you try a new build in any MMO,
yes,
you will be shit. Like when you play for the first time, you will be.
It's shit versus like it's like your expectation versus how shit you are is what is a lot, like the variation in Guild Wars 2 is a lot higher. First time I played Final Fantasy 14, I was shit, but I wasn't that shit, you know? Like I was like, oh, I'm like a few thousand DPS off on my samurai. Right? And it's like, this is manageable, and I can this is like a learning curve based, like I need to learn the mechanic of the boss, when to do this and that, that's fine. But like when it's like 50% or you're doing 25% of the bench, that feels really bad. And you go to the target dummy, let's say in Final Fantasy 14, and then you go to an actual boss and you're like, yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. And then, but like in Guild Wars 2, it's like the discrepancy is that big. Right? The promise is so, it gives you like a certain idea that is just not realistic. And I know benchmarks are not supposed to be realistic, especially in Guild Wars 2. I understand that. The argument is not if I understand it. The argument is, do people who are pretty new to this game, who especially are coming from a game like WoW, because in my opinion, that is the target audience Guild Wars 2 needs in order to grow, like realistically speaking. If those people get deterred by this, and no one explains this to them, and people just dish out builds for them, oh, this does this much damage, and then they try it and it's not really the case and they feel bamboozled, yeah, I'm sorry, this is not a good first experience.
Is there downtime in like these other games where like in Guild Wars 2, your DPS, let's say say like Shiver Peaks, right? Like once it hits the invuln phase, your DPS starts like cratering essentially.
Yeah.
Does that happen in other games, or do they like pause their DPS?
The problem is no, so it doesn't pause DPS meter. The problem is how DPS works. In Guild Wars 2, DPS is pretty stable throughout the fight, right? You're pretty much doing the same DPS throughout. There's no major cooldowns. In WoW, you're doing like 90% of your damage during cooldowns and 10% during downfalls. I'm exaggerating the numbers probably, but there is a substantial increase in your DPS when you have cooldowns versus when you don't. So if you know when to use your cooldowns, because you know there's going to be a downtime where you can't use your cooldowns, you're not losing that much DPS. Does that make sense?
I mean, that is true, but like applying the rotation correctly to a fight is still like a really big part of it, right? Like if you look at pauses and so on, like people who do well in WoW, it's like there's like a big difference between someone who knows how to like apply their rotation or not. But I suppose I feel like this conversation this conversation is kind of
agree with you,
bait. Like, I mean, what you're getting at here is that you think we should talk about logs more than sims, basically. Like that.
I think benchmarks are flawed. I think benchmarks are flawed. But it's like one of the only things you have. It's better than nothing, sure, but they're very flawed. And like people arguing with me that no, they are not, you just don't understand what they represent, are just being like dishonest. I know what they represent, but like you have to admit they are flawed. It's just I don't think there is a better system, but just I'm stating the fact that the benchmarks are flawed.
But that's similar to the other games. It's just that the system is not as well known. The system is Wingman, right? Because, like that's what it sounds like. What people are used to in other games is actually the logs. Like when I parse whatever color the rainbow, and it's like your equivalent for that in Guild Wars 2 is Wingman. You would look that up and you would look at how your build performs on specific bosses, and then you would know how you parse whatever rainbow color, purple, whatever, pink.
Yes, parses would work. Parses and Wingman work substantially better, but that's not a benchmark. If you just had, if you had only one context to go off of, you want to go into rating, all rating, which context should you use, benchmark or logs? And you can only choose one. And why?
To be honest, I think it's a false dichotomy because I think you should find a build that looks cool first. I think that's like absolutely
yes.
Go for
yes.
first. And then regardless of its numbers.
Yes, let's assume. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I also make that comment in my video. I know you didn't watch. I make that comment in my video that's like, as long as you're doing 25k, 30k DPS, you shouldn't care about anything and just have fun. That's yeah, sure. But let's assume you're having fun with whatever. Okay, let's just take the fun out of the equation for a second. Let's assume you're having fun, whatever. Which meter is substantially more accurate? I would go with logs like 99 times out of 100 than with benchmarks. Yeah, because I don't think benchmarks are honest representation of anything.
Well, of course,
yeah, exactly.
Well, you would always go logs, obviously.
Yeah. So, like, why are people sending people to Snowcrow?
They send people to Snowcrows because Snowcrows has the build. It has the build information, and it has the rotation, and it has the especially the opener, which is like very big.
Yes.
So it has all of this, and it has guides on how to play. I think the real issue here is...
But it doesn't represent the actual build.
That's because Snowcrows isn't made to do that. Like, the build pages are not made to do that. But what I'm saying is the Snowcrows page has value for representing this is how this class benches, this is how you set up the golem, this is how you would bench it. And it sounds like people just want a link to Wingman from there. That's like, if you want to see the practical numbers, here's a link to Wingman. As like, that's it. It's like, it's not even about... It sounds like that's the solution, and the more people just linking...
I would honestly say the opposite. I would say the opposite. People want link to Wingman, and from Wingman to be taken to Snowcrow. But I don't think Wingman can detect the build you're using. Unlike WoW Progress, for example, that also records the build that you're using and your talents and your items.
And that wouldn't be a bad state of affairs, but like I do think that sites, build sites like Snowcrow's Meta Battle, whatever. They are a very good starting point, like for people to like get into this stuff. Like, is it possible that like a new player might get potentially baited into like gearing a Condi Antiquary with how the number is right now? Maybe.
Probably.
But the thing is, I'm not gonna lie, like if you do play that build and you play it well,
it's not just that one though.
Well, I mean, that's like the main outlier. If you look at the other ones, they're all pretty legit. Like, you could argue that you could argue that Mirage is also like a little bit of a bait as well, because it is a very specialist build. But I mean, look, Evoker, Conduit, Ritualist, Gale Shot, Amalgam, right? Like Luminary.
All the new ones. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, they're obviously they're pretty OP right now for sure. They're pretty busted for sure.
They 100 are.
Yeah. But like the thing is, I don't know. Like I'm not entirely sure that people engage with this content in this way. For example, I feel like the vast majority of people, when they're engaging with a benchmark, they use it as like a, oh, okay, this is like approximately how good this build is. And they use it as a learning aid, right? Because I think when people practice a rotation or like practice a rotation versus the benchmark, they're not going, okay, if I can do 50k DPS here, I'll do 50k DPS on an encounter. I think what they're thinking is, if I can do 50k DPS here, then I'm doing the rotation pretty well. And that means if I do the rotation like this on a real fight, I'll also do pretty well. That's like my understanding. Like that's what I would expect. With how this
that was
is going,
my
right?
understanding.
Yeah.
That was my understanding. So this is me 3 months into Guild Wars 2, just finished the story. Only EOD was out at that time. And I was like, oh, I just joined a guild that does raiding.
Yeah.
And I chose Virtuoso that I think was doing like 38k at the time, which is one of the higher ones. And I really enjoyed Mesmer. This is like, what, two plus years ago? Like before Soda, like a few months before Soda. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it like Virtuoso, like the Viper one, was doing pretty well. And I enjoyed Virtuoso because I was leveling with it as well. And I took it, and I learned the rotation, and I was doing great. And then I got to the raid, and yes, there was a learning curve for the, for understanding the bosses. Within a month, less, but like, a few rotations of the wings, I learned the bosses pretty well. I was watching guides, the mechanics, when to do what. I still couldn't get anywhere near like top 5 DPS. Or top 4 DPS, like, because like you have like 6 DPSers, or 4 DPSers or whatever. And I still wasn't able to do it. And my rotation, and I was practicing it hours, bro, like, just, it's just like, I had an expectation, it just wasn't happening. Now you can say, yes, skill issue.
Wait, this is different. This is where I see the differences coming in. So you just said you weren't able to break top 4 DPS, which is how I understand how people perceive DPS, because they look at the meter, they look at themselves compared to each other.
Exactly.
But it sounds like it sounds like there are people that only look at the benchmark and then how they perform, and they don't look at relative to other people in the raid. So I'm like, this is where it breaks down for me, because when I look at, I couldn't tell you anyone's bench, like any class's bench. But when I look at the DPS meter, I think it's very easy to see like who's doing well and who's not doing well.
100%, I agree.
Well, kind of interesting thing. Like,
because the bench is not telling you what you need to know. The bench is telling you what you bench, but the bench doesn't correlate to the actual content that you're doing in almost all cases, except like 5%.
Do you think that, would you say that like the main issue here then is maybe a lack of delineation between power and condi? Because like, okay, here's the deal. Like if you if you were doing your rotation really well on your condivert, you would 100% be owning everyone, unless it's on like Veil Guardian or something, right? Like where the boss like takes more power damage. Like if you're talking about stuff like that, then okay, I think that's fair. I think honestly that stuff can be a little bit weird as a new player. But I feel like this is like
the first 4 wings.
Yeah, the first 4 wings.
And says that though. It talks about ramp time.
It does talk about ramp time a lot of the time on their builds. Yeah, like if it's a condi build and it has a long ramp, they will talk about it.
Yeah. Let me just say one thing, bro. Ain't nobody reading everything Snowcrow has to say. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, we can't blame SC or like benchmarks if people don't read their content.
I do think there is like a website literacy thing. The big thing is, I think Snowcrows should probably do a massive pop-up that says, here's the group finder, every time you load the page for the first time when you don't have a cookie. Because it feels like so many people are like, well, how do I find groups? How do I find groups? And it's like, this same site you're finding your builds has a page for finding groups with all the Guild Wars 2, University, Scan Gang, all those links. It does feel like there is a bit of a website literacy thing going on. And I do think some people, they look at the bench page and they're like, what's highest bench? They go to that build without like considering anything, without looking at any other build to look what looks cool. And it's like, but I think this is but I also think this is like I'm also like, I don't understand how, maybe it is WoW brain rot, but like it's so interesting because I've never had this experience when I wanted to learn any other game. It was always like, I would look at different builds to see what looks cool or fun or flavorful or whatever, and then go from there. But maybe discrepancies in DPS are so big in WoW that people feel pressured to do it there, and they bring it here, and I don't know.
Every patch. Now again, I can't say that this is like the most recent news that I have about WoW, because again, I haven't played in years. I'm talking about from my experience playing WoW for 13 years, okay? Every patch you would see, oh, these 2 or 3 specs are doing like 20k more than the middle of the road, and everybody's crying about it. Oh, I don't want to re-roll my class. Please buff, please nerf. That is like, this is what happens in WoW pretty much, or used to happen. I don't know how it is now. Every single patch, these guys are overperforming. I don't want to play that. Like, you must nerf or you must buff me. How is it that this guy is doing like sims only for, not sims, but like, I guess it's technically sim, like 30k DPS less than this guy, and like the max DPS is like 180k. Like, what the fuck? Like, people are losing their shit over this every freaking patch, right? So that is the WoW mentality. I don't see that in Guild Wars 2. It's like, oh, this is overpowered. That's like, it's fine. We're all relevant. With WoW, like, if you're not top DPS, you are not invited to content. You have to be a top like spec. Every time I was doing mythic raids, I was asked to change my spec from one thing to another, from Paladin to Demon Hunter to Death Knight. That's pretty much all of the times I changed, right? Because it depended on the patch. Right? Oh, Red Paladin is not performing, but Frost Decay is now top of the thing. Can you please change? We don't have anyone else to change. Right? Like, that's just how progression is. Now, again, you can come from Guild Wars 2 and you say that you didn't experience it, especially if you come with like a pre-made already from like your Steam or whatever. I'm telling you how it is to pug. Like, that was the mentality to pug. Okay, you join a random guild that is doing Mythic Prog, that is the mentality. It is a bruised ego, by the way, to the guy who said it. It is a bruised ego mentality. 100%. I agree. It is. I'm not going to deny it. This is wild brain rot, like 100%. I'm not like...
Yeah.
It's like,
I feel like all of this is just like, you think that we should use logs more than benchmarks, basically. And we need Warcraft logs in Guild Wars, yeah?
I mean, that would be amazing, honestly, yeah. If you could see like the actual, like the breakdown of the damage that you're doing, which skills are doing more, based on the breakdown, plays a much better role of understanding your priority than anything that Snowcrows can write. Like, you see the number. This does more damage. I'ma press this button more. And if I don't have this button, I'ma press the second best.
Did your video, did it go over like how to set up Arc? Because I do think Arc is quite scuffed. But there are like videos on how to set it up. And there's like general like how to use it that I think do help a lot. And I don't know if people, particularly for like power builds, Condi is like kind of weird because I don't think you see the skill that like hits all the burning or hits all the torment or whatever, but the power builds are like, you can very quickly see which skills you should be mashing. Yeah.
Yes, which is another thing that doesn't really exist in WoW. Now, you have dot builds, but the dots ramp up so fast that they're practically power builds.
That is, I mean, look, I can't speak to the game like years ago, but that is really not the case now. There are still like pretty slow classes like in WoW. 100%.
The issue with the issue with Arc TPS is I don't think it can tell. It'll tell you like, oh, burning is your big damage, but like you might have a skill that does 1 stack of burning, and you might have another one that does like 10 stack of burning, and you won't know. The log won't tell you, or the in-game meter won't tell you which one you should be pressing more. It kind of gets like lost there. There's a breakdown in like the data flow, but I don't know. And I honestly think I think like people
get different mentality. Yeah.
Like hung up on this a lot, and I honestly think like
I don't think it matters.
So many people, I think it's like so many people just need to hear like just mash your buttons. Like APM is going to get you so far in this game. It's ridiculous how far.
Like I said, it's not that the content is hard. Like it really does. Like you don't even need to get a Snowcrow build or anything like that. Like the game is not hard. Like I'm not talking CMs. I'm talking about like what most people will be doing: T4s, regular raid, strikes. Aside from like maybe the EOD one. I always forget the name. The Swan and all the dragons.
Harvest Temple.
Yes. Oh my god, I always forget the name. Like maybe that one is hard for some casuals, sure, but like realistically, the content is really not hard. It like you can do 20k DPS, you can do, and again, most people will do 25, 30 on a bench. I'm not even talking about like on the like the thing on a bench. You do that, you're probably gonna be okay. Okay, like I'm not. The problem is when you build an expectation, like the guide that I am criticizing in the video, which is what the whole video was about. I know I came off extremely poisonous from the start, but I was already pissed off. So like I said, like from the start, I'm gonna be a lot more blunt or whatever word I used. So I get why people are hung up on the benchmark. The whole point was how that specific guide and guides similar to that use benchmarks to deceive people, because you're doing a benchmark on this build for 36k, which is nowhere near reality, and you also say this build's amazing, this build is great, and then you only portray 2 fights where this build would actually be amazing and great. But in reality, take it anywhere else. Even the people were claiming, oh, this is just for group content. Take it to any group content, it will not do well. It has one of the slowest ramp ups on Condi I've ever seen.
Which
you literally
build?
start.
Is that like the auto attack Paragon build?
yeah.
Paragon build.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this build. I don't know if I've ever seen this build. What?
It's like the.
Wait, who was recommend?
It's Condi Paragon.
Yeah.
It's Condi Paragon.
Yeah.
You like.
And I have no hate
like
for
recommended.
It's sword, and
like,
you just look. It's got arms, and you just auto attack. It's based.
Is it like the pistol meme, like thief thing?
Similar,
Is it like
Kind
that?
of, yeah. It's like that, but Condi.
Similar, but melee.
Yeah, melee and Condi. Yeah. Similar kind of.
Yeah. But the thing is, with the pistol, what do you call it? Headhunter, sharpshooter. Sorry. Like that is not like you can always DPS it. You really don't need to click anything. You just like auto lock that ability to do it, and you will actually do that damage pretty much everywhere. Because you can be at range, you can move while doing it. The boss can do whatever the hell he wants, and you'll be fine to do it. This build, however, requires you to have uptime on the boss all the time, because it only gets to like 50 bleed stacks, and it's so slow to get to 50 bleed stacks that if you lose them, you're kind of screwed. Like you start from like 5k DPS all over again. Like you have no like burst to start you off, kind of thing.
Yeah, and this actually is true. Well, okay. So if you want to say that in general, like power builds are often a lot better than they appear, I actually think this is true. That this is actually very true, especially when it comes to like builds being potentially undervalued by benchmarks and like Condi builds being overvalued. It's actually a really interesting discussion, and like you could definitely bring up the point. Maybe we should talk about the first number a lot more. I'm sure you're familiar with like the first number you get on the benchmark. The golem gives you a number every 20% of the golem's health, right? When you're DPSing it. Yeah, maybe that should be a bigger part of the conversation, because if you did that, you would then see like how insane something like Amalgam really is. Because Amalgam just has this crazy burst opener, which, because Guild Wars 2 encounters are pretty short, tends to like be very, very good, right? And well, it's funny actually, because like the WoW comparisons are really interesting to me, because it's very much a function of encounter design, and specifically encounter design when it comes to how long the fight actually is, right? Because the reason, well, the reason why it's different.
Okay, I use different words. But that is pretty much what I was saying when I said like the way the Guild Wars 2 does its mechanics, as in like the encounters, as in like how many invulnerable, how many times you have to switch targets, how the ramp up of your DPS matters, unless like again if you're a target, if you're melee, how many times you will be out of range due to mechanics, unlike range. There's so many more variables in Guild Wars 2 versus like WoW. In my opinion, there's like 2.
I mean, the thing is,
for your DPS.
It's more that like Guild Wars 2 encounters they die very quickly. It's like they phase very fast. So there's definitely like some difference with like how that plays out. But this is more of like a Condi versus. It's not really fundamentally different. It's just that like the distinction between power and Condi is a lot of the time a fair bit bigger because things die quicker in Guild Wars 2, right? Like power damage.
Especially now.
Especially now, yeah. Like, you know, if you look at how quickly something like Veil Guardian phases, yeah, like realistically, like a lot of Condi builds like don't have time to actually like get off the ground, right? On in a phase time there. And this is not even true of just Veil Guardian. This is true of like a lot of bosses in general. So like
many of the bosses, yeah.
Like if your position basically is like that, it is definitely possible that players won't know that in particular and will get a bit bamboozled. I think that's true. To be honest, like I think people can potentially get caught out by that when they're like coming to a game, like especially on like the power versus Condi thing. Like but I do want to split that hair though, because the hair needs to be split here. Like that is slightly different to saying than it's not quite the same as like the idea of the benchmark is the problem. It's more like players need to be aware that like being a power build and being a Condi build is like a very different thing. Like in a lot of content in Guild Wars 2, especially kind of like the more farmable content, like being power and Condi is very, very different. Like it depends on what build, of course, because you could have like a really bursty Condi build, like, I don't know, like, you know, Firebrand can be pretty bursty. It's got a bunch of burning, right? Like, whereas something that's like potentially like more, there are slower builds and faster builds, right? When it comes to Condi, obviously.
Yeah, I'd
but
say
like,
like
if you want to draw that
like
distinction
medium.
more, then 100%. And like, if you do want to say that like realistically, like Condi Paragon is probably not that good a lot of the time, I think that is true. But I think it is
recommending Condi Paragon. Where is that happening? Actually,
there's a build video. I'm actually not familiar with this creator. I don't want to, you know, I don't really want to bring him up too much.
Okay.
I don't know the guy.
I don't
right?
see it on
like,
Snowcrow.
I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
With,
By the way,
this
I
creator.
like Sirma. I like most of his builds. This build specifically is kind of like an alert went off my head, because I'm like, I have had this problem with multiple builds that were like, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there were multiple builds that I've seen that people are making that have a very similar issue. It's like, oh, this is easy to get into, this does this much DPS, but it's like, where is this viable? The creator never says. And it's like, it's very viable for like a very specific encounter that would, and usually, yes, they are Condi, right? Power really doesn't have that much of an issue. However, if they're power range, they are even better off in the benchmark discrepancy compared to a melee power, which is better than a range Condi, which is better than a melee Condi, right? So there's like, the gaps are smaller, like the more you go to like ranged and power. But like I've seen multiple builds, and it was always bothering me that it's like, because I tried some of them as well as I was playing. Once I got like my first legendary set, I started experimenting, and I was like, dude, this build is garbage. I can't take it anywhere, except for the one example or two that the creator showed, right? Which doesn't even matter. It's like a Bram in Dragonstorm, or a Dagda like in this video, right? It's like, okay, like you have 3 encounters where this works because the boss literally stands there and you can actually DPS it for a long time, and there's nothing else is going on. But as soon as something goes on, your bleed stacks drop really fast. You get them up very slow. It's like the slowest Condi build-up I've ever seen, right? It's like, where am I taking this? But also you're claiming that this is an amazing build and really fun and really powerful, and it's like, no, that's not the case. This is false advertisement.
I mean, I will admit that that's probably a little bit hyperbolic, but to be honest, do I actually think that a new player would honestly do pretty damn well on the build like that? Honestly, kinda, yeah. Like, I think they would do pretty okay at the very least, like on a build like that. I really don't think they would do badly in that type of setup.
They would do acceptable damage. They would not get the advertised damage.
Yeah, no, you're obviously not going to get the benchmark, right? But I think you'll do like okay, like you'll do like an acceptable amount of DPS, like on a build like that.
Okay, like I want you to imagine this scenario for a second, right? Just entertain this thought for a moment, okay?
Yeah.
You are a Guild Wars 2 content creator, right? Like, like you've been here for a long time.
Okay.
You don't know the creator I'm talking about, okay? So he doesn't have a lot of views. Okay, he has way more than me. I'm really a nobody. Okay, and again, I'm not throwing shade. Like, I'm just making the point. This is somebody who, like, you can say he has a secret build. Okay.
Okay.
Now you are you are getting into raids or whatever, and you have arc DPS, and you're seeing people doing 20k, which is basically like the average in metas and stuff like that. They're doing like 20k, sometimes 25k. Very rare. Like you have the few that are doing like 35 and whatever. But like for the most part, you join like a random meta for Suwon, people are doing 20 to 25k on the boss.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't come prepared with all the buffs and all that stuff, right? And then you see this video, it's like 36k DPS. You're like, dude, I'll be top DPS in this meta that I like doing. And then you go, and you're doing 8k.
Well, I don't think you'll be doing 8k. You're not even doing 8k DPS.
There's such a big discrepancy between
Yes, it's
like
ego. Yes.
the perception. Well, the perception that the whatever number is in a video,
Yes.
is that relevant to like Suwon?
You don't understand. People will find the achievements that they can find, right? Now, for you, Suwon doesn't matter. For somebody, this is their main content. And they want to be on top of the DPS meters, especially if you have a WoW brain. If you don't if you don't care about DPS meters, why even get Arc DPS?
But then if you have Arc DPS, you would go to a Suwon and you would see who is
But
top.
people won't care.
And you wouldn't be like but you would see who is top when you go do Suwon for your first time, whatever. Like you're coming from WoW, you go to Suwon, you're doing your first kill for like the achievement or story, whatever. You look at the DPS meter, and if you're on an A, you probably see the wacky scrappers up there. Maybe it's amalgams now, and you would be like, "That's a crazy build. I should probably get that build." Like I feel like there's a I feel like the people that are sweating so much about it, if they have the in-game meter anyways, they would see the builds that are going crazy right in front of them already. They wouldn't even they wouldn't even necessarily need like YouTube or anything to lead them astray. They would just see the other builds that are already there, and like you can even like click people open and see like what skills they're using and stuff, and you would find some really wacky builds. And then I guess maybe WoW brain also doesn't know about like the buffs on Suwon and like what can the crazy stuff that can happen in open world. That's different from raids.
Let's assume you know. Right? Let's assume you did it enough. You know about that, right? Now, okay. Here's a question: do you think people who are filled with ego about their DPS and they want to beat other people on DPS on something that doesn't matter, like Swan, do you think their ego will usually let them? This is obviously super arbitrary.
Well, the ego play is you play the same build and you beat them at their own game, right? That's like the ego play.
No, that's the logical ego play. that's what you think the ego play would be. The ego play would be, I'm going to do more DPS than them. It doesn't matter what build I'm using. I just want to be top of DPS. My build clearly is not working for me. I'm gonna find a build that is stronger, and then you get an advertisement for a build that does 36k while you see everybody's doing 30k. Guess where you're going next?
I need a toxicity check. Is it okay to say that people with this kind of ego, I'm okay with them being bamboozled? Is that crazy?
That's fine. That's fine. No, that's fine. That's completely fine. I'm just telling you that they exist. I was that guy. Like straight up, 3 months into this game. That's who I was. I came straight from WoW. That's who I was. Like straight up. Like I'm not even like I'm not kidding. I probably was worse actually than what I'm representing.
Okay.
It's like
yeah.
It's like I'm telling you.
At the end of the day,
what the ego check happens,
wait,
it's like to reel it in.
This is the position. We need Guild Wars 2 logs, basically. That is what we need. We need logs, and we should attach them to builds, I guess. So you can go and see the logs. Boom. There you go.
I would just say the first resource people should use is the logs.
I would be inclined to agree with that a lot of the time, to be honest.
You might be able to go into SC Discord and suggest, hey, would it be valuable to link to Wingman from your page? And also go into the Wingman Discord and be like, hey, would it be valuable if SC linked to you? The SC people are pretty good about making changes. It can take them a while, but like a big one I used to request was like, can we get the like precision and crit chance without buffs? Can we get that on the build page? So we understand like what we're actually trying to hit, rather than just having only the gear. Like, yeah. And they eventually put it in. It was good.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, ideally I would just want to see a tab like where the benchmarks are and where benchmark rate, whatever. Just like here are the logs basically. Who is you know there's like a general log in WoW Progress that is not just boss specific. It's just a general log for the raid. Who is performing the most? That's still a thing, right?
Yeah. There's like aggregate performances. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That is the log that they would need to probably put there, not like specific for each boss.
Like per instance. Ooh, that one.
No, like in general, like a general log of like who are the top performers. Warcraft log. Sorry, you're right. Ari,
Yeah,
you're
I mean it's a little bit tricky to do because there's a lot of
I know.
I don't think you'd really want to do that. You're kind of like smushing a lot of different encounters together there a lot of the time. It's honestly a slightly weird indicator for WoW as well, but I mean I'm sure you could come up with some kind of metric for sure.
Yeah, well, let's be real. Amalgam will be number one. Like, I mean, you know, Ritual is probably top 3. You know, Evoker is one of them. It's like, with or without the logs, we kind of know. Those would be like be top performers. But, yeah, it like, again, does it really matter in a game like Guild Wars 2? I don't think so. So again, like my only problem was just like making people waste resources. Like, and again, it's pretty expensive early on. I know Mighty, you did a bunch of 0 to Legendary, right?
Yeah.
Now you know where to farm stuff, but
That's
how
true.
long does it take you to get your first Ascended set?
Wizard's Vault is so good now. It's actually insane.
I mean,
and then even if you're on a scuffed build and you start doing IBS 5, I think IBS 5 you can get Ascended gear, right? It's like
Yes.
the
Do you know
progression.
how many weeks? Do you know how many weeks it takes?
So you can get half your armor and a weapon from the Wizard's Vault, and then IBS 5. I don't know what it is with the daily lockouts.
It would take you about 4 to 5 weeks to finish the 3 more armor pieces and another weapon if you're using two-handed. Actually, probably more. So, and then we have Ascended accessories, which are just literally like the fun times of doing Winterberry and Bloodstone farms, like on a daily rotation. That's weeks of time, and then people will try to make a build out of it, and then it turns out to shit. That's very modern. Now you can say it's like, oh, just buy the exotic stuff. The exotic set will still cost you like 60 gold. I'm pretty, like, I wouldn't say I'm rich, but like I'm well off in terms of gold. I would not spend 60 gold to test a build.
I mean, that's
New players.
look, that's kind of an RPG thing, though, right? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't
It is.
disagree. Like,
It
it would
is,
be
yeah.
nice if you could have everything for free, but I don't know. That's just
No,
not the way
I
the
don't want
game
anything
works.
I do not want anything for free. Don't get me
Sure,
wrong.
what's
I
that?
like farming, but I would like, if in an ideal world, which by the way I don't think is realistic, an ability to set your own stats at the dummy to check what it would feel like to play this.
Well, I mean, that would be good, yeah, for sure.
That would probably make bench at least like substantially better than what it is now. Not so much for the numbers, but at least get a feel for a build without the high investment. And yes, I know right now the investments is substantially lower, but it's still like weeks and months of farming. Like, this is not like all of the investments in this game are like very time heavy, right? It's like, oh, you fucked up on this build. Good luck farm the next one for the next 2 months. Doing like mediocre, like non-fun.
I mean,
grind,
the thing is, you don't have to wait that long to get gear, right? I mean, if you're just doing open world, you're probably getting like 20 gold an hour doing open world approximately, like doing Wizard's Vault dailies and stuff. Like, you can get you can gear like a build in, I don't know, a couple of hours, to be honest, a lot of the time.
Yeah, exotic you can. I'm saying that still costs like 60 gold plus.
Yeah.
To make a just exotic build.
Is the
even I wouldn't.
Is
do
the
that for
like
myself,
the
but-
ascended thing? That's probably part of the brain rot, where
Yep. Also
people
true.
think they need ascended to go into any normal
slot.
in-game content.
Best in slot. Zeberneth, just get exotic. I said exotic would cost you 60 to 80 gold. Yeah, just do the math on the runes, the sigils, the relic. The relic itself is like 20 gold.
Relics are pretty cooked. Those are
Like, yeah, a build, an exotic full build, is 60 to 80 gold easy. Because again, you're mostly using runes like Eagle, Scholar in most of the builds. Tormented is dungeon, so it's like you can't even do a proper Condi build without Tormented, really. So, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of problems with just testing out stuff before, and there's a lot of variation here as well. Full exotic armor from Bladed Armor in Verdant Brink. You can get it from World v World too. The problem is not the armor. The problem is everything that comes with it.
I mean, this is obviously true, but I mean, I don't know.
I'm not saying this is an excuse. I'm saying this is a deterrent.
I mean, it is
Right.
a deterrent, and I think it does mean that people tend to only play 1 or 2 builds because it is an investment to set up a new character a lot of the time. And that is just kind of like, that is an MMO RPG thing at the end of the day. Like, it's, I mean, yeah, look, if I had my way, everyone would start with full legendary from day one, right?
Nah.
Because
I
don't really like progression. I think I just want to be able to like, look, I like how PvP is, right? Like in this game, like
Fair enough.
where you can pick all the gear you want. I really like that. But yeah, obviously, like, that's just, it is what it is.
Yep. 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 I mean, again, like these suggestions are just like out in the air. Like it's not like, in my opinion, I think the game is the best MMORPG out there. Like it's not even close. In my opinion, this is the most underrated and probably, honestly, I think this is the only MMORPG out there. You don't see what you're seeing right now on your screen. You don't see this in any other game. Like realistically, you don't.
Yeah,
Right?
World
This is
vs.
the only
World
one
is
that
good.
feels like a
I like World vs. World.
Not only that,
good.
all like the big metas, you don't see that. You don't see that.
It's true.
Right? Like, so yeah, in my opinion, this is the only MMORPG. And I want to have as little deterrent as possible, specifically because let's be real, the players that you should be trying to get in and like breaching the gap from is the WoW players. Every time WoW Guild Wars 2 becomes more popular, people were asking earlier, it's like, is Guild Wars 2 gonna shine in 2026 and stuff like that? I was like, only if WoW is doing very poorly. Like that is the reality, unfortunately.
I mean, that is true.
Like the reason,
to an extent,
yeah.
anyway. I think the game is doing pretty well right now, though, at least.
It is. I'm thinking the game right now is more alive than it's been for a while. I agree with that. But you have Annie Fushia, who's giving the game a fair try. You had Showback trying it out and giving it a fair try. But you see what happened as soon as like TBC Hardcore came out. It's like, oh, I'm done with Guild Wars 2, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it
that
is
is
an
how it goes.
unfortunate reality.
I mean, yeah,
it is an unfortunate reality, right?
It is how it goes.
So yeah, so my mentality is when I'm making videos is I'm trying to go from the perspective of if I like a WoW player coming into this game, because that is, in my opinion, the target audience that this game needs to bring in, and try to make them understand this game as smoothly as possible, because this game is very different mentality-wise and progression-wise and like everything-wise, realistically, like how combat works, how mechanics works, how grouping works, the boons, like everything in this game is very, very different, right? And breaching that gap, in my opinion, should be a main, like I wouldn't say main focus for everyone, but like something they consider whenever they make content, whenever they talk about the game, right? Like just not every single video. Obviously, you don't have to. No, this is how boons work at like intro to a video, right? But like you have to kind of view it in the perspective of, if a WoW player sees this, would this make them want to play? Unfortunately, as much as I like, I quit WoW long ago because I think the game is just turned into dog shit a while back. It has its merits, don't get me wrong. I think Mythic Plus has its merits. I think Mythic rating and rating as a whole has its merits, don't get me wrong. But I think the way the game is played is just not friendly to players. And many players are playing because they've played for a very long time, all right? And they will keep coming back until WoW basically dies off on its own. But you have the stragglers that like, dude, I do not want to see WoW players going to RuneScape instead of Guild Wars 2. Are you kidding me? RuneScape instead of Guild Wars 2? Seriously? You know, that's what I mean. You know.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think it's good to perhaps wrap things up on a point of agreement. Basically, we think that logs are good and we should talk about them more. And at the end of the day, it just sounds like you want more content that is kind of showing builds in action, right? Like showing builds in action.
Oh, in terms of what guides are, I would say it's not even. I don't care if you go out of your way to like show the build in all scenarios. I don't think like that's realistic to ask. I think that's too much to ask for in a build. I think you just should say, like, here are the negatives of this build. This build will not do well in a switching target environment. This build will not do well in AoE. This build will not do well in this. But this build is great for this, and bosses of this type or something. Just make a list. You don't even have to show it. Just make a list of what this build is meant for. Be the change you want to see.
I think most builds do that, but the random videos on YouTube probably don't do that. Like I think like when people make their builds, they typically say like this is for whatever they say, like they delineate between open world raids and stuff. But I do think that the bar should be risen. I think the bar should be heightened on build videos. I made a build once and I was like, okay, I need to get logs for most raid encounters showing what the build, how the build performs. I will go to Samurag. It was a low intensity build. It was like I will go to Samurag and I will not dodge, I will not jump, and I will see if I can not get knocked ever. Because like you wanna, I think build videos should have like, you know, if they have a goal, they should be testing and stressing the build to achieve that goal.
Yes.
But I think
but the main focus is the videos. The videos, in my opinion, are lacking. People are saying Snowcrow has all of this. No, Snowcrow has some weaknesses, like slow ramp up, forced movement, stuff like that. It doesn't have this build does not fit in these fights. This build is great for these fights. It doesn't have that. It has strengths and weaknesses, but they're very general. They're not like make it more specific.
Well, I mean, aren't those generalities kind of what you want, though? For example, like if a build has a slow ramp up, then it's not going to be good when you have to switch targets or in a fight with multiple phases. But isn't that kind of what? Yeah. Isn't that kind of what they're saying there with that statement?
No, they're not.
It kind of is, though, no?
Oh, what? Oh, the Snowcrow. The Snowcrow?
Yeah.
I think we're saying Snowcrow has some hints of that, but then there are a lot of random videos on YouTube. They're like random videos on YouTube that do not delineate at all. That really don't go into like the intricacies of like why a build is good or bad, or like why a build is good and like what content the build is for. But I think it's interesting. I think most veteran
30 seconds.
Yeah. I think like most veteran build creators call this out when they have a build. Like your I don't know. I feel like most veteran build makers have this, but like I think there are some like random. I don't want to say random, but like smaller creators or maybe creators that don't have such a large following that this doesn't get brought to their attention, so they just don't do it.
I can say fairly confidently, but I could be wrong. The only time I see people mention that a build is for open world is only when the build is for open world. And if it's for anything else, they never mention what it's for. I'm sorry, but fractals, raids, strikes, they are completely different beasts. And within raids, they are completely different beasts. There's like no differentiation between any raid fights. Like, oh, this build is good for raids. No, it's not. Not for half of them. Like, I don't think
you have like too many build videos say that they're for raids. Because I think most builds are. I think most builds don't specify, or most videos don't specify. And probably from like seeing so many builds, the default assumption is if it's not specified, it's for open world where like the bar for viability is very low. So it's kind of like that's just like, well, you probably take that.
So here's this is actually funny that you mentioned it. So you said that if they don't specify, it's usually for open world. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, when it comes to like unless the channel's specifically about raids. Like I don't know the SC members. I think their videos on their
the SC is definitely for raids. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that.
Yeah, but I think
I
most
just find it-
builds out there are just not. I think they're typically made and only played in open world.
So this is why I find funny that you said, not like laughing at you or anything. It's fun that you said because the video I'm reacting to doesn't specify what it is for. And when I compare it to open world, people are like, "Oh, this is clearly for group content." See what I mean?
I also think I
Yeah,
found
because
the
it
video
kind of
mentioned.
was though. Like he benchmarked the build and he showed it off on like
Bram.
Dragonstorm and Dagda. Yeah,
Bram.
it's like it's like a strike farming build. Like, you know, it's like a strike farming build, like a like general open world meta build you could play it on, right? Like raids and stuff. Like that's kind of what it's like talking about.
I do think it is interesting.
general.
This build, I'm looking at the Dagda gameplay, and I'm like, it is interesting that it's at the top of this list.
Yeah.
At
Exactly.
24K.
I mean, it will do well,
And that's
like
the
in
point I'm
pugs.
making.
It will do pretty okay in pugs, right? Like, you know, because if you play a build that just like does decent DPS and you just auto attack the boss, like you will out DPS people a lot of the time.
Yeah, but like that's also the point I'm making. He specifically chose, and I actually make this point in my video, he specifically chose footage where his build is doing good against Dagda and against Bram where he's top of DPS. But let's be real, it will not be. You know, so it's like that's why like I said this build is misleading. Because no, it won't. Like people doing 20k on Dagda? What? Like, you know, it's like did you just ask them to lower their DPS or something? What's going on here?
I mean, I feel like his group was a pretty
there's an
standard
issue with
pug, to be
logs.
honest. Like, pugs do not do a lot of damage. Like, it's...
Yeah. There is an issue with logs. I don't know if this happens in WoW, but when an era, like when an era is anticipated to end on Wingman, people will do. Actually, I don't know if people still do this. People will do some unhinged things to try to get top DPS logs in Guild Wars 2. So they will make groups. They will go on like a Condi class on a fight, and they will bring along like 6 supports to ensure that they have like total boon up time, and then they will either potentially solo do solo DPS, or they'll bring like other like slow like Condi builds, so their phase timings are as long as possible. To like ramp and stuff like this, so they don't get just beat out by like power builds. I don't know if this still happens, but it used to be a thing on Wingman. It's super fascinating.
Yeah. That, by the way, I would consider that as like a WoW mentality. Like straight up, this is like how you force your priest to PI you all the time.
True, actually.
It's like
That is true. I want
maybe that's where it comes
PI me as the tank. That is what needs to be done. Okay?
Hey,
100%.
you wanna parse the tank, yeah?
Yeah.
100%.
I will get PI.
Yeah.
I will get PI or you will get no loot. I'm in charge. I'm running the loot council. That's just the way it is.
I'm sorry, I don't want anyone to think I'm riding Teapot's coattail here, okay? I didn't initiate
Don't read the
Discord
chat.
specifically.
Don't read the
okay?
chat when they talk about you. They're all invaded. I don't know how long you've been in this community, but whenever you see a tree, like you can just ignore the comments like 3 above and 3 below.
Yeah, I'm usually not, like, I don't watch streams. I'm also usually asleep at this time because I work night shifts. So
Yeah.
I saw Teapot is going online, so I came to say hi.
Yeah.
And thank him for watching my video and stuff like that. But like,
That's all good.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it reached you, to be honest. Like I'd never expected that.
I have a very
with all
engaged
the
audience.
criticism.
I have a very engaged audience. They're always looking for fresh content. To be honest, I think a lot of the people in this stream and in my community, they want someone to say something interesting, pretty much. Like, and that's what you succeeded in doing, more or less. So like they were attracted. They were like flies.
Let's be honest. It was the title of the video.
It was, and you know the funny thing is actually, like this is an interesting thing. The reason why you're getting so much pushback is because of the way that you frame this. It's not the title; it's the way you talked about it, like in general. Because You used
First
the way you talked about it is that you start off by like saying benchmarks don't mean anything, and then you use like Surma's video to essentially use that as like a cudgel to like bash the entire concept of benchmarks in general. But you could have said it. You could have just said, you know, I was a new player. I found this confusing. I would have found it much more useful if there was just like a way bigger focus on logs and logging communities and like gameplay videos that show off builds in real fights. And you know what? If you'd said that, you would have got 0 pushback. Everyone would have agreed with you if you'd said it that way.
But also a lot less views.
Well, I mean, maybe, but the thing is, like, is this serving your goal? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to?
I got 4 videos out of it.
Well, but here's the thing though. Like, do you think that going about it this way is actually going to like achieve your goal, right, and actually change things? No, I would say that if you went about it the other way, you'd actually have a much higher chance of actually making progress. Like if you go to SC Discord and you give this feedback, yeah, they'll probably listen to you, or at least they'll read your comments, right? And then think about it, right? Like if you made this video,
I didn't know it was an option.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, if you made a video that, if you reached out to me, if you messaged me about this, I would have talked to you about it. I mean, look, I talk to anyone. So here's the thing, right? Like, I am always interested in stuff like this. You know, my first comment, right? Like, communication's really interesting. Like, I think there are problems. I think it can be improved, right? But we have to like have the conversation in a way that kind of makes sense. Because like right now, this entire dialogue, it's turned to a complete shit show. And you've correctly identified this. Nobody's actually talking about what your actual point is. However, here's the thing. It is kind of your fault that nobody's talking about what you're actually saying. Because of the way that you communicated it was like so aggressive that people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro?" Okay,
yes,
like sit down, right? So like,
I do think there's a lot of like, I didn't know I could do that, but like the SC page, it has a link to their Discord in the footer on every page. I do think, okay, the SC
sorry. Let me just clarify that point. I know what you're trying to say. I don't know if they listen. I don't know them. Who am I? Just a random guy joining their Discord and making suggestions. You know, I've made suggestions on a bunch of other stuff before, and I never felt like I was listened to. I don't know how, what, and who listens. Okay, so most times I just won't even bother, just from because I learned that it doesn't do anything. Right. And that is on me. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that's this is a learned behavior at this point, that it's I don't why would I assume that they listen to me?
Well,
oh man,
I mean, I don't know. Well,
you joined the Discord? It's so interesting because I actually don't look at it often, but there's so much discourse going on in it, and people bring up the golem HP, potentially changing it from, I think it's 4 million right now down to 1 million, talking about that. I think those discussions are had. I don't know, it's a really interesting Discord too. Also direct people there. Anyone having issues with their gameplay and they have VODs and logs, oh man, you throw them in SC Discord. That's where I toss them.
Could be. This is the first time I turned on Discord in 2 months, so I just don't hang out in there. You know, I don't hang out in streams. I don't hang out in I don't have time. If I have time, I'd rather make a video talking about nonsense. That video was a Wednesday rant about nothing, really, and it just blew up for no reason. Well, for a reason, but it's not the reason I intended at all. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, if I have the time, which I don't have a lot of, I would spend it on that than just hanging out in Discords, just how it is. So I wouldn't know if they listen or not. I would waste a lot of time just trying to find out.
I mean,
so
sure, but
that to join it and mention your suggestion. That's what I'm saying is I don't know, but I feel like this happens so often with the SC website. I can't tell if it's a general SC website thing or just this is our reality. But oh my goodness, directing people to the group finder on SC is it's one of the best pages on the site, but for some reason it's overlooked, even though people get all their builds from the same site.
I'm a meta battle Andy, actually.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
But I like them more. I like them more because I see the options better. Their UI is just better than, in my opinion. It's clearer, and they literally copy builds from Snowcrow, so it's like they update very slowly sometimes, but at least like you can see all the options a lot clearer. It's easier to like click on them. No numbers on it for sure, but yeah. I know. Maybe it's I think maybe it's because I'm biased and like Metabell was the first thing that was linked to me when I was starting out, and that's like just became a habit. I don't know, but like it's easier for me to use them. Doesn't mean that I don't use Snowcrows though. My Virtuoso build is from Snowcrows because that's what my guild recommended me at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was like I don't know, but. Yeah. Meta Battle is very sus for PV for sure. It's mostly like I use it for PvP realistically, but it's always like my first go-to. And if I don't find what I want, I go to Snowcrows.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in benchmarks.
He doesn't believe in them.
We got some interesting rankings in chat.
Some peculiar ones.
Ranking?
Curious.
Some greater than signs.
Yeah.
No, those are not my resources. This is like some of the resources I used. Most of the, by the way, I have watched MightyTeaPot more than I watched any other creator.
Good choice.
Especially his 0 to Legendary, okay?
Yeah.
His 0 to Hero. Okay, sorry, the 0 Legendary is mine. The 0 to Hero. Probably one of my favorite series, okay?
Yeah,
so it's like,
it's good.
no, that Sirma is my recent resource, it's not a resource that I use. Like, people need to chill, man. How are you this kloogy? Because I don't watch every single thing. MightyTeaPot shares so much. It's like some of them are like 3 hours long. I can't watch everything. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, I think
farm,
yeah.
If you want a content farm,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
oh, you said you haven't played WoW in a while. I would say like you would look at how things play or like their flavor on retail right now, and you'd be like, if you play, I don't know, Death Knight, whatever build, this is the build for you in Guild Wars 2. You could farm so many videos. I swear the content hose, the slop hose.
Well, okay. I guess
I just don't think any of them are really similar, like in terms of feel. In thematics, sure, I can see some, but like in terms of feel, they're really different.
Yeah,
I'm still looking for the Retribution Paladin, straight up. I'm still looking for the Retribution Paladin. It doesn't exist.
I think there's probably like a big gap on like how they play. I think it sounds like WoW is a lot of builder spender for like almost all of their builds, maybe. But the flavor might be like the biggest bridge between them.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's why I like Virtuoso, for example. It is a pure, like what do you call it, generator spender, but it's also ranged. So
Okay.
It feels very close to like how I felt playing a Red Paladin, because also I wouldn't say it has procs, but it has like those when sometimes your blades regenerate really fast and you're like, oh shit, I don't even have buttons to click yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, you know what? Look, I think this is a final point. I think we've kind of gone over everything here, and well, I guess I should be letting you go to bed, actually, at this stage. Get some sleep.
I
guess,
do 4
look,
hours.
I'm just going to tell you, okay, the next time you want to do this, do you know how you can actually have your Giga, engagement? You can have your cake and eat it too here. Like, if you want to have a conversation about this, I think you absolutely can, by the way. Like, you post it to Reddit, you post it in the Snowcrows Discord, you come and talk about it on stream, right? Like, yeah, you do though. Like, that's where the conversation is. The conversation is there. Post it on the forums, unironically, yeah. Like, this is where people are talking. Like,
I can't do Reddit.
Wait, why not?
I cannot do Reddit. My, what do you call it, the reputation or whatever is like -46 or some shit.
Okay. Well, ask someone else to post it then. Okay.
Because of one post. Because of one post about Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Never say a bad thing as your first post about a popular game that
the
everybody's
karma,
positive about.
The karma requirements
karma,
are kind of cooked on the Reddit. Like my ANET flagged account, because I haven't just made many posts. I tried making a post and it had to get like mod approval because I just don't post too often with it. It didn't have like post karma. It's like it's pretty funny.
How, like, somebody, why not make a new profile? Because I don't care about Reddit, man. Like, it's like I just don't care about Reddit. It's like, why, like, I don't want to waste my time. Wow, red player banned on Reddit, taking the piss in Guild Wars 2 checks out. Oh man, I'm getting farmed over here. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the way, what I'll make this last point because yeah, I need to go to sleep. I really do not mind if you take the piss on any video I make. I don't care that I'm a small creator. Like like it really doesn't matter to me. It's words on the internet. I don't take it personally because people don't like my opinion. I just like, dude, I'm too old for that shit. Like it just, wow. Like, oh no, some people don't like me that I don't know. Like it doesn't matter. So if you ever see something that I say and you completely disagree, dude, yeah, for sure. Like I will never be offended by you talking about it because you disagree with me. As long as people are respectful, I'm respectful to them. As soon as people say something mean, bro, like I know the gloves are off and I'm gonna go to the same level as them. I don't care. For me, it's all entertaining.
I mean, yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'll meet you there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sure. All right, well, I guess we can kind of wrap things up there. I think that's good.
Yes,
I think, you know,
yes.
you can have the last word on that, I think. But yeah, thanks for hopping on. Very interesting conversation. It's been a while since we've had, you know, some discourse about Guild Wars 2. Normally, I just argue about other stuff these days. So it was definitely interesting. And, you know, like, for what it's worth, like, I actually do think conversations like this are pretty important. And yeah, I think there's always room to improve, right? There's always room to improve in how we communicate, like, and how we figure things out, and like how we can help new players kind of like navigate the Guild Wars 2 landscape. So yeah, I guess I'll bid you good night, and well, I mean, we'll see what you do next, I guess. Yeah.